Hello, I am Carolina Rodriguez Barros from Dare to Glow. Continuing with the interview series on dynamic feminine leadership, today I will ask Maria Wilhelmsson her insights on this practice. Maria is a voice and presentation coach with many years on sales and marketing in multinational corporations, and she is also a mother of two small children. Today, Maria helps professionals find their authentic voice and get their message across in a dynamic and powerful way. Welcome, Maria, to Dynamic Feminine Leadership.
Thank you, Carolina.
Maria, what does dynamic feminine leadership mean to you?
To me, it means as a woman to really be who you are and to be true to yourself and your values and beliefs, and to try to use your full personality and your skill set to influence other people.
And in your experience, how do high achiever women relate to their femininity?
I don't think that all women leaders or high achievers are really aware or paying special attention to their femininity. Some of them may just be too busy. So if you ask them, reflect on your femininity, there was a, oh, come on, isn't it enough to do all the other things that I'm doing? Do I have to be feminine as well? But I do think that most of them, at some stage in their career, I'm sure they have reflected over the limitations or obstacles, if you want, of being a woman in a very masculine work environment that most of us are facing. And I guess that some of them have consciously chosen to cut down of some of their feminine sides or to reinforce more masculine ways of being in order to fit into the organizations and to be able to work their way up in a hierarchy like that.
Mm-hmm.
But all women are different, so I don't think it's right to say, well, because this woman is a high achiever, she's been very successful in this organization, and she comes across as fairly masculine. It's not fair to say, because all women are different. So some women will naturally be a little bit less of what we traditionally call like feminine attributes, and some will have more of them. So we should also not judge other women by saying that, no, Margaret Thatcher, she's not a real woman. Maybe she has feminine attributes that we don't see or that we don't think of in the same way, but maybe she's true to herself. So it's a difficult conversation, I think.
Yeah. So, do you notice that grooming and clothes high achiever women wear becomes more functional rather than an aspect of their femininity and as a tool of expressing their femininity?
It could be for some. For some, it could be the only outlet or the easiest outlet of expressing your femininity, because it's even if you work in a very masculine organization, it's still okay to put on a skirt and a nice necklace. No? That doesn't threaten anyone as such. But I think from a more profound way of thinking of feminism or femininity, after all, what you're wearing is only surface. You can dress in a very feminine way and still not be very feminine in your way of being.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is not consistent, so it won't resonate in a powerful, and it won't have this dynamic impact that we are looking for, right? What is your experience with your clients, or when you were in marketing in multinational corporations? Do you feel women are more influential or powerful in the workplace if they dare to express their femininity or show up as a whole, as a woman, and express their authentic style? Or does it have the opposite effect in terms of results, right?
Yeah, I think it depends. To start with, to be authentic or to be yourself always brings credibility and trust, because people do notice whether you're a man or you're a woman, if you're speaking from your heart and if you mean what you say. So that will always have an impact. Now, if your true feminine personality means that you're maybe very girly and very giggly and a little bit shy and a little bit like that, it may not work in your favor if we're realistic to work in a large corporation or to work in professional life. You may have to work with some techniques to take that down, to make you sound more authoritative. But I don't think it stops you from being authentic or from being the woman that you are. But you may have to look to reinforce the feminine attributes that you have that are more in line with leading other people, or that the attributes that people want to be led by. So, for example, as a woman, maybe your attributes of being a caring person, or showing lots of empathy, or being able to speak from your heart to convince other people about whatever it may be, are attributes that you can really work on. And then the giggling features, maybe you will have to tone down a little bit without abusing yourself, the person that you are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, it's good that you just made the mimics of this woman, and it's not only that you have to look the dynamic part, but also sound. No, as you are a voice coach, you just did the mimic of how you should sound like as a dynamic and powerful leader, and not trying to mask your femininity, becoming a more masculine, and also not finding what is your authentic voice, right? There is the whole impact that we do, the whole presence that we have to work on to put out there what we really want, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's how I like to define the authentic voice, that is a voice that is grounded in your body and in your emotions as well. So it's a voice that comes from your full person. And when it does that, it won't be light and giggly. It will actually be well anchored in your body, and it will sound more authoritative.
Absolutely. And what is your own experience with expressing your femininity in your work environment? Have you developed a conscious identity that help you?
Yeah, I don't know how conscious it is. I guess it's been a long trip from being a young student. I'm Swedish, and when you grow up in Sweden, you're fostered to believe that women and men are the same. There are no big differences, and when you're still young, I think that is very true. When I was a student, I couldn't see why it would be different or more difficult to be a woman when you're working. And then you grow up and you start working and you start to travel the world a little bit, and you see that the older you get, the bigger the differences become. And even more if you start having children and a family, then you start to see, well, there are different roles and there are more parameters coming into my life that I will have to juggle with here. So yes, now there definitely is a difference between being a man and a woman in the workplace. So how do I want to relate to that? I've also had the chance to work in other countries. I currently live in Switzerland, but I spent many years in Spain and in Argentina. And it was funny because many people have asked me, oh, wasn't it very difficult to work as a woman in Argentina, which is such a macho culture? But I actually did not find it more difficult. I found it, in a way, coming from a Swedish background, it was a relief to see that, well, the differences are recognized and to a certain extent also celebrated. So you're actually allowed to play around with it. So if the men are playing, big and strong, you're allowed as a woman to play on the other side and say, okay, fine, but if you're so big and strong, why don't you help me out with this thing? And that was something that was very interesting for me to see, and it was probably the first time that I started to use my feminine side, or my whole femininity, to work in my way, to work for me, because I hadn't been doing that before. I hadn't been reflecting in the same way.
And how this identity serve you then to get you where you want to go, and if you transfer that identity, that experience in Argentina back in Europe?
I think what it has helped me to do, well, first of all, it has helped me to become conscious of a bit more of who I am and how I relate to other people, to other men and to other women. I've also reflected more over what do I really want to do and where do I really want to go. So it has made it easier for me to make choices about what I want to do, where I want to work, what kind of environment or what kind of people I want to deal with, what environment and what surrounding the people that are around me brings out the best in me.
And what's the biggest lesson you have learned in developing your own dynamic feminine leadership?
Well, I've learned that I will really be my best and the most successful if I choose to work with something that I enjoy, because then then you have that passion in it, and then you will always be much more stronger. You will be much more convincing. You will have more fun when you're working, and when I'm with people that energize me instead of breaking me down or judging me or and also that I have to find a place where I don't have to prove myself, or where the objective not is to prove myself, but really to enjoy what I'm doing instead.
What is the one tip you would like to give the women in our Dynamic Feminine Leadership Network for developing their leadership as women?
Well, it's more than one. There are several little ones, if I may. The first one is to look for role models. It's not easy to find, but start early. Always keep your eyes open. The feminine role models, you may not necessarily find them in your company or in your industry, but look at women elsewhere in that case. And build your own network of women to discuss these things with. Discuss how do we bring more femininity to our workplace, and how do we relate to it? What does it mean to me to be more feminine, and how can I work on it? And then also to try to define your values, your own values about leadership and the behaviors that you want to have. And sometimes, especially if you're saying, I want to develop my feminine side, you don't know exactly what it means. But if you don't know what it means, if you can't put words to it, try to put some words to what you absolutely don't want to be, or where you don't want to go. Yeah. So you can look at that little checklist now and then to see, am I on the right track, or have I again fallen back into that trap?
Absolutely. Thank you. Great tips. I'm sure our audience will love them. Anything else that would you like to add on this message?
I think you've had some great questions, and we have had nice conversation here. I think the last one is maybe, when you work as a woman in an organization, always ask yourself, what can I bring? What extra thing can I bring that I couldn't bring if I were a man? And make sure that you share that with other people and your organization.
Excellent. Yeah, very good question. What else? That's something that makes you unique and no one can replicate, right?
Exactly.
Thank you, Maria, for participating in our series of interviews about dynamic feminine leadership. We will share this important message with our community, and we will continue our mission of inspiring women to become role models, as you just mentioned. I will be seeing you at the WIN conference in Paris.
Yes.
I wish you good luck, and we stay in touch.
Thank you very much, Carolina. Thanks for the invitation.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.